Welcome to Gone Outdoors. Kyle Agre and Scott Brewer of Brewer Agre Outdoors. Talking hunting, talking fishing, and talking anything you can do outdoors. Right here on Kello News Talk 1320, 107.9 FM, and KWSN 1230 AM, 98.1 FM, both out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and the mighty 790 KFGO Fargo, 104.7 FM. Today's Gone Outdoors is brought to you by Ray's Sport and Marine, your local Lund Boats and Bennington pontoon dealer in Moorhead. RaysMarineMoorhead.com. Adventure RV across from the Fairgrounds Inn, West Fargo, your number one RV dealer in the FM area. AdventureRVSales.com. Devils Lake Tourism. Looking for wide open spaces, amazing fishing, and a refreshing escape? Discover Devils Lake, where adventure, relaxation, and North Dakota hospitality come together. Plan your stay at devilslakend.com. The Outdoor Adventure Foundation. For over 17 years, the foundation has created life-changing outdoor adventures for youth facing life-threatening illness, injured veterans, and first responders. Learn more at outdooradventurefoundation.org. Strand Ace Hardware, Barnesville and downtown Pelican Rapids, proudly family-owned for 70 years. Valley Truck Gear, protecting your equipment. The Outdoorsman, and Onyx Fish Midwest, cast beyond the familiar. It's good to be back again with you here for today's Gone Outdoors. And Scott, one of the things that we oftentimes do is take questions from our audience. We haven't reminded folks in a while that they can drop us a message, ask a question, suggest a topic. We love hearing from all of our listeners. And if you have a chance, go to breweragreoutdoors.com. There's a place right there on the front page. Drop us a message. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know if you've got any questions for us or for any of our guests that we have on the show from time to time. And we always want to make this as interactive and customized to what you want to hear as we possibly can.
And while you're there, we do have, I don't know, a dozen or so recipes up there. They've all been tested and are very, very good outdoor recipes. But with that, Kyle, I think we should give a plug to Mr. Jeff Benda. What's the website? Fishandgame.com or something like that?
Wildfishandgame.com. And Scott, I was just thinking about Jeff this morning because he sends out his recipes every week, and they're always interesting. They always look really, really good. And the reason it struck me this weekend is that it's kind of to the time in the season where you've probably done a few fish fries, you've done a few fish bakes, you've done a few of the traditional customary things. And, you know, for a lot of us, we're like, well, what now?
Yeah. His recipe this week was something catfish.
It was a catfish soup dish. It had catfish and chorizo.
Yep. It
looked really good.
It looked very, very good. Looked like it had a tomato base. Yeah. So all of his recipes are on his website, but I highly recommend that you get onto his mailing list, because that mailing list, he is an amazing author. And he types a little thing on gratitude, types a little thing on how his week has went. And it's a first open read every time I get it. As soon as I get it, I will open it and I will read it every single time because it's that good.
Yeah, his listserv sends it out while you're sleeping. At least that's when I get it. So it's when I wake up, when I turn the phone on in the morning and get that email. I'm the same exact way. It's definitely something to look forward to. I think it comes out on Tuesday mornings, and definitely worth checking out for sure.
And the timing of it, Kyle, is perfect. I mean, it's literally perfect for us this week because we're going to talk a little bit of catfish on our show.
Yeah, absolutely. That might spark some interest, get some tips out there, and maybe some of our listeners might want to go give it a try wherever they're listening from in the nearest river and be able to try out Jeff's new recipe. I'm sure that would be excellent. And, you know, Scott, here's the other thing. You know, you talk about fish and eating fish and we've done it a few times and now we're looking at for something new or something different. It can also be the same way with lakes or places that we are going out fishing. And, I've found that Onyx Fish app and being able to go in there and, I fished this lake already a half a dozen times. I fished another lake a dozen times already this year. What else do I have for options? And it's made me think and consider lakes that I wouldn't have ordinarily considered. And, not all of them are perfect when you go out for the first time, but a lot of times you come across something new that you're going to go back to time and again.
Yeah, for sure. And especially now with that new fishing areas layer, because that kind of gives you a little bit of a head start. Granted, there's a lot of people that will just go look for break lines, they'll look for points, weeds, the stuff we've done for years. But this gives you just a little bit more of a head start on a lake that you don't know, a lake that you're not sure about. It just gives you a little bit more confidence that your day's going to go as planned.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of a nudge to decide to go someplace that you're not familiar with,
Yeah.
to go someplace that you've never gone before. And using an app like that, you really increase your odds of finding those places, but finding them in a way that your outing there can be successful.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And Kyle, with the weather, the way it's been, the weather's been pretty much perfect for the last week. Could use a little bit more rain.
A little more rain would be good.
But so one thing with that, with a lot of our lakes, not all of them, because some areas have gotten rain, where we happen to live, we haven't gotten a whole lot. But you really want to be careful when you're putting your boats in at the access, because there's a lot of low water at a lot of accesses. And there's going to be a lot of areas where you may have driven, you talk about going to your home lake or lakes that there might be a lot of spots that you've driven over many, many times that you got to be very, very careful with right now.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Scott. And on my home lake where our cabin is on Dead Lake in Otter Tail County, there's a couple of rock bars. And, I've kind of gotten familiar with where I can drive and where I can't. And now the last couple times out, I've had to kind of extend that little cushion or cautionary range out a little bit further to make sure that I'm not getting into any trouble.
Yeah, you're going to bump into something that you probably aren't going to like.
Hey, and one of the places where we've grown up and grown to know that you have to be watching for underwater kind of hazards is Devils Lake. And we're going to hear from Dave Randash, Devil's Eyez guide service up there, and get a fishing report. Find out what's going on up there here late summer and see what he is finding and what his guide clients are experiencing. Then we're going to welcome a new guest, Ethan Tallakson. He is Tally's Trophy Fishing. He is a Red River fishing guide here in Fargo, Moorhead. And we talked about the catfish recipe. He is going to share some tips, some strategies on fishing the Red River, especially now with low water conditions. Chad Engels. He is definitely a bass fishing guru. He's a coach of our Shanley High School fishing team, good friend of ours. He's going to talk a little bit about late summer bass and where we can find them, how we can catch them, and how we can have some fun with that. Folks, you're not going to want to miss it. We do have to take a quick break now, but we will be back with more Gone Outdoors. Onyx Fish Midwest, covering 11 states on both iOS and Android. All your fishing information is one click away. Searching for new destinations by species, abundance, or trophy potential, it's all at your fingertips, including access points and shoreline ownership.
You get confused by special lake regulations? They're all on Onyx Fish Midwest. Real-time weather for your exact location, aerial imagery, and waypoint management, all right to your mobile device. Use code BA Outdoors to get 20% off your subscription at onyxmaps.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to Gone Outdoor Radio. You're listening on Kello News Talk or KWSN in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, or the mighty 790 KFGO. Scotty Brewer, Kyle Agre, Brewer Agre Outdoors. And Kyle, this is always a treat. We try and get him on, say, once a year or so. He was one of our very first guests 11 or so years ago. And he has always been a mentor of ours, Mr. Dave Randash. He is the owner operator of Devils Eyez Guide Service on Devils Lake. And we're going to see what's going on up north. How are you doing, Dave?
Scott, Kyle, it's always a pleasure to hear from my Lund brothers, and fishing's been good. We haven't had a lot of wind lately, and that sometimes hurts us a little bit, but I tell you what, there is a lot of fish. Game and Fish did some more test netting this spring. The lake is loaded. I think what's going on down here, I live in the western part of Devils Lake over the Minnewacan area. There's a lot of structure out here, and I mean a lot. Not only man-made, like, oh, you guys have heard of the Golden Highway. Everybody has. It's a phenomenal trolling run. But stock ponds, there's like 130 of them on the Devils Lake system. People know what stock ponds are that are ranchers for sure. In the older days, they'd take a backhoe, scoop them out, and the dirt they excavated would be like a wall around the perimeter. They're still some of my best go-to spots. And so we've been doing a lot of different presentations. Had a family reunion here at our place. My wife, Randy, and I, we had 30 people here. And all the grandkids, we were kind of rotating shifts going out in the lake. And the kids had a ball bobbering on these stock ponds we just talked about. But one day it was dead calm like it is right now. And we ended up trolling. The kids had never trolled lead core line before. But they sure in the heck knew when we had a bite and that rod buried, and we caught a lot of them that way. We just had a great time covering water. I know you guys are well versed in that.
Yeah.
So all the presentations are working.
Well, that's good. So what is the water temp up there currently? And has the warmer water affected the fishing at all?
Well, we had a whole bunch of 90-degree days, high humidity. The fish were crazy, berserko. The bite was on huge. If there's any problem at all going on, usually half a day when I'm guiding, we'd have a limit. Maybe we go chase some white bass or pike or whatever. But we had this wicked front, and the wind was stream. I had some people from Arizona here. Think about that combination. They thought it was cold when it was 48 degrees, and it was chilly. The wind was howling. They toughed it out. We did okay, but it wasn't stellar. The water temp dropped from 78 to 71 overnight. Some of the north peripheral water crashed 10 degrees. And those fish don't like that. I don't know why it is that they get lockjawed, but usually it's a result of, extreme high pressure rolling in. And this clipper system, when we get these big northwest winds, it can be a challenge. Usually we try and get out of the wind somewhat. And my favorite cold weather presentation is just a slip bobber with leech. We're set up leeches. I always use a number 4 hook. And you don't need a great big leech. Sometimes you're better off with a medium to medium large this time of year. Crawlers are still number 1. I've been playing around with this live scope stuff a little bit. But I don't do it when I'm guiding. I think it'd be a little too intimidating. And, we're targeting usually tournament fish when we're doing that.
Dave, you mentioned, live scope and forward facing sonar, and it is all you hear about nowadays, but just listening to you talk about what you do with your clients, pulling lead core, slip bobber fishing, and some of the basics that we have relied on as tried and true for years and years and years. And it seems like Devil's Lake is a place where those things never go out of style. Is that pretty true?
Absolutely, it's true. One thing I've learned with guiding, I can kind of get a pretty good read on experience and how much they have fished. And it doesn't matter to me. I enjoy fishing with experts and I enjoy fishing with novice clients. So the thing is, I really take great pride in teaching and being patient and never, scolding anybody. The other day we had a gentleman, he caught his first walleye and he was reeling this spinning reel backwards and the handle fell on the floor. And he was embarrassed. We got a little mutual chuckle and we got it back on there. He got a 17-incher. It was pretty fun. So this fishery it just blows me away. And I ran all over the country when we did the walleye circuits, and Devils Lake was by far my favorite. Techniques that we do, usually the staples, say we're talking 100% of fish caught. I would say we're probably 40% spinners, 40% bobbers, and maybe 20% other casting, lead core, trolling. Another thing that we really, really are doing now is a lot of these snap weights. They anybody that's ever has not done that, please learn. It's so simple. And if you guys have time, I can give you a quick 30-second instruction. You can be an instant expert in a half a minute.
Yep.
You guys all right with that? Can I?
We got 30 seconds. Actually, we got about 2 minutes.
Okay. So say we're trolling our lead core. Lead core is a special line. I don't know how they manufacture it. It's a Dacron line. It has a little lead filament, a little lead core. So we usually put like a 10 or 15-foot chunk of fire line on the end of it. And that way the lead is a little bit wide and thick, and it kind of wrecks the action of the lures that we're trolling. So you want to have some kind of leader. Some guys like monofilament, some fluorocarbon, whatever you want to do. But these snap weights, say we got 3 people in the boat. We're trolling 4 rods usually. A couple of 10-footers out the back corners, port and starboard, a couple right back of the Mercury, and it works great. But we get a few tangles, but the guy in the front, we're rotating usually. He gets a little bored, or maybe some gal says, well, hey, let me sit there, guys. It's my turn. I said, well, we just caught a couple. So here's what you do. A snap weight, you buy them in weights from anywhere from 3 to 8 ounces. Most of the time we're using 5 ounce. There's kind of a little closure on the top, like you would attach to a planer board. And it's like a little clothespin thing. You put it on the line, flip the lever up. So here's how we do it. I'll make it quick. You let out 20 feet of line. I don't care what you're trolling. As we're going forward and we're putting lines out, you free spool it to the bottom, let it hit bottom, then reel up 3 revolutions. 1, 2, 3. Put it in the rod holder and forget about it. If it's ticking bottom a little bit, you just reel up another couple turns. It's so exact, so precise. We did the casino championship last year. We lost 5 big fish in a row, and half of them were on our just one of them things. We couldn't get them in the boat, but half were on snap weights. So don't forget to try them. They're unbelievable.
All right, Dave. We really appreciate you coming on Gone Outdoors. Can you throw out your contact info just in case anybody would like to go out with one of the smartest anglers that we've ever met?
Well, yeah, I'm 70 years old now, guys, so flattery will get you nowhere, but thanks for the compliments. I appreciate it. So I run a 4-season guide service. I don't do any of the hunting, even though I do some on my own. Spring, summer, fall, no close season in Devils Lake and up in this area. So my name of my guide service, like you guys mentioned, and I appreciate the tip on that, is Devils Eyez, EYEZ, guide service. And my wife is my bookkeeper, but we're sitting pretty good. September, I'm about half full. August is pretty chock full. And we get clientele from all over the place. And usually I'll try and meet my clients the night before. We'll stop at their hotel. It's a comfort thing. Questions are answered. Dave, what do we need to bring? I said, rain gear, and that's about it. So we have everything else. We have all the tackle and bait.
Perfect. Thank you, Dave. We appreciate it.
Scott, Kyle, you guys take care, and take care, guys.
Stick around. We'll be back with more Gone Outdoors after this short break. This is Scotty and Kyle. If you're in the market for a new fishing boat, you've got to check out Ray Sport Marine in Moorhead. They've got a huge lineup of Lund boats, all powered by Mercury outboards.
From chasing walleyes to pulling the kids on tubes and skis, there's a Lund built for every kind of adventure, with a Mercury on the back to power through it all.
Visit Ray Sport Marine in Moorhead, just north of Menards, or explore their full Lund and Mercury lineup anytime at raysportmarine.com.
Welcome back to the second half of this morning's Gone Outdoors. Kyle Agre and Scott Brewer of Brewer Agre Outdoors, talking hunting, talking fishing, and talking anything you can do outdoors here on KWSN and Kello News Talk in Sioux Falls and the mighty 790 KFGO Fargo. We're excited. We get to welcome a new guest to the show, someone that is local to our home area here, and someone that I think is going to bring a lot of great information to our listeners. Ethan Tallakson tallies trophy fishing on the Red River here in Fargo and Moorhead. Ethan, welcome to Gone Outdoors.
Well, thank you guys. I'm excited to be on your show and get an opportunity to talk to a big audience. It's really exciting for me.
Well, we're equally as excited because to have someone local that knows the Red River, that fishes it, that brings clients out there. We've oftentimes just talked about the Red River being that untapped resource right in our backyard, and being able to share that with more people is a really, really good thing. Ethan, can you just tell us a little bit of your story on how did you come to be a fishing guide here in Fargo Moorhead?
Yeah, so it all started quite a while back. I grew up in Moorhead, and I think I turned maybe 13 years old, and my old man, my dad, would bring me down to the river occasionally, but he was more of a walleye guy, and he didn't take kindly to losing all that gear that you can go through shore fishing on the Red River. So
Yep.
ended up kind of having to figure it out on my own, and would ride my bike down to the river and a backpack and a couple rods, and never had a landing net or anything, but just started experimenting with different baits and different hooks and techniques, and finally stuck a big one, and it was all, I don't want to say downhill from there, but I was hooked.
So
I've
how
been doing
long
it ever since.
how long was it, Ethan, since from that time until you actually put a boat on the water and realized, wow, there's a lot of river out here?
And then I put my first boat in there when I was about 21, and it took me a minute to figure out, how to do it in that boat, because there's so much more water, like you're saying. The shore fishing is just kind of condensed into one spot, and you cast your bait out and you let it hang there. And then getting that boat in the water and really seeing what's out there, it was a whole new game. A couple of years of practicing, and was having good success probably by the time I was 25 and 29 now. So, and this is kind of my third summer doing it, 2.5 summers worth of doing it. So
That's awesome. I love it. And, to Scott's point, there's a lot of river here in our little Fargo Moorhead community, a lot of twists and turns, a lot of different features. And as our listeners are listening here today, the water's kind of low, right? We're in a bit of a drought. What are some of the specific features that you recommend as far as if someone does have a boat out there, what are they looking for to be able to be successful on a catfish outing?
that's an awesome question. When you got the boat on the water, there's almost like two different rivers in our town. So we've got a landing on 52nd Avenue. It's the Convent landing, and the water there is going to be a lot deeper than it will downstream on the north end of town. So when I put in at the Convent, right off the access, right off the ramp, it's 16, 17 feet deep. When you put in at the ramp at Johnson Park, it's 3 or 4 feet, and then it can get shallower and a little bit deeper. But the main key features that helped me get started was just fishing the visible snags. So you can fish a tree that you see in the water, and that's such a good starting point because you don't need electronics, you don't need anything special to do it. You just use your two eyes and you get upstream of it. It's like the opposite of deer hunting, where you don't want the animal to smell you. This time you do want that animal to smell you. So you get upstream of that tree and you let your smell float in there. And I run a stopwatch just so I can keep track of how long I've been sitting there. And fishing those trees is kind of what I started to do when I was cutting my teeth, and it works both stretches. There gets to be a little more intricacy to it if you break it down a little more than that. But at the end of the day, you can fish those trees that are visible and have good success.
So how long do you wait? Just curious. How long do you wait before you move on?
It can depend a lot on the day, but I would always recommend 20 minutes at least. And I'll vary it based on fish activity, what I saw on my depth finder as I go by things, history of that. Usually as soon as the bait lands, some spots you're getting one before you get your second or third rod in the water. So I remember that type of stuff. And if it's acting up, if the spot's not acting right, then I might not give it quite as long. But if it's one of those spots where I've had to kind of sit and grind them out before, I'll give them that extra or that full 20 minutes, or sometimes an extra 10, or sometimes another 10.
So what about bait? I think that's a big question that people have. And I know that seasonally there's maybe different preferences that these fish have, early spring versus midsummer versus late summer, fall. What are we looking at, right now? What's your go-to bait?
Okay, so right now I've been running a lot of cut sucker, and then I've also been using goldeye, available bait that you can go and you can catch goldeyes from the red near the dams with a bobber and a worm. So it can be pretty simple. You throw a jig head 3 feet under that bobber, you can pull a goldeye out. You can bring it home and put it in your freezer or your fridge, depending on if you want it frozen or not. I've been just keeping them on ice and using them for a few days after, and they've been working. I've been strumming a lot of the larger fish up on the cut goldeye recently, and I'm putting a lot better numbers in the boat with cut sucker. So there's times of the year where you're going to have big fish hitting the cut sucker just as often, and you'll have better numbers too. So my go-to would be cut sucker, and then kind of start digging into the book of tricks as you start to struggle getting big fish every now and then. So
I know, doing some fishing in my backyard here, that if you can see a leopard frog hopping around, you best get a little net and try and grab him, because they make good bait too. What is the availability of frogs? I know a number of years ago there was quite a few of them, and I haven't seen as many as of late. Is that still a viable option?
they're such a good bait. One thing, when I was down in South Dakota, I would fish the Big Sioux River, and I saw a guy come up to the spot I was fishing. He had a bucket full of frogs, and he chucked one down at the ground. He stomped on it. And I was like, that's kind of weird to be doing. And he put it on his hook, and he hooked up with a catfish instantly. And that kind of clicked something in my brain right away. So I will cut that frog in half instead of stomping on it, because I don't want to make that big of a mess in my boat. But cut that frog in half, and they make terrific bait, probably from the beginning of August right up to the first frost of the year when those frogs are done hopping. But I've caught fish late season that have been coughing up frogs. They love eating frogs. They just chow on those things, frogs and goldeyes. But excellent choice of bait if you can find them. Unfortunately, finding frogs this year has been impossible for me, and I know the bait shop in town hasn't seen a frog come by in months. So
yeah, they've been pretty scarce, and I know when you see one, don't let it hop by, because you want to capitalize on that opportunity. Ethan, we're running up against the clock here, but I want to give you a chance to share your contact information. Just let folks know where they can get a hold of you, and if they want information, if they got questions, if they want to book a day out on the water with you. How do they, number one, follow you on social media? And number two, how do they get a hold of you directly?
Okay, so my social media, I just run a Facebook account right now, and it is Tally's Trophy Fishing Charter. So TALLY' for Tally's. And most of if you want to book a trip with me, the best way to do it is reach out by phone, and then we can work through any of the scheduling and any of the cost and any of the details together over the phone. And it just saves a ton of time and a lot of back and forth. My phone number is 701-893-8867.
Fantastic. We're talking to Ethan Tallakson, Tally's Trophy Fishing Guide. Ethan, we appreciate very much that you took a little bit of time this morning to spend with us. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely, guys. I really appreciate you having me on, and I hope to get a chance to do it again with you. It was fun.
We definitely will do that. Folks, we are not done yet. We still have another segment ahead of us. So we have to take a quick break, but stick with us. We'll be back with more Gone Outdoors.
At Acme Tackle, innovation meets results, from legendary cast masters to proven trolling and jigging baits that flat out catch fish.
When it's time to finesse, power, or fill the live well, reach for Kalen's Plastics. Lifelike action, proven colors, and the soft plastics that fish just don't let go of.
And tie it all together with Elliott fishing rods, lightweight, sensitive, and built for anglers who demand performance on every cast.
Acme Tackle, Kalen's Plastics, and Elliott fishing rods. Fish smarter, fish harder, and fish confident.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Gone Outdoor Radio. You're listening on Kello News Talk or KWSN in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, or the mighty 790 KFGO Radio. Scotty Brewer, Kyle Agre, Brewer Agre Outdoors. And on this segment, we are going to chat with the Shanley High School coach, high school fishing coach, Chad Engels. He is our Brewer Agri Outdoor bass expert. One of them, we have a couple. Chad is probably one of the smartest bass guys that I know, and he is one heck of a great coach. He sure can teach those kids. How you doing, Chad?
Good, thank you. Pleasure to be back on your show again.
So I'm not sure if we should talk largemouth and smallmouth bass, or if we should talk how good you are as a coach, because I need some tips to get my team up to the same level as your team. But we can do that another day. So
Yeah, sounds good.
largemouth bass are a warm water species. You know, they like warm water. That's why they're so popular down south. I'm guessing this warm spell hasn't slowed them up one bit.
No, that's right. The largemouth bass fishing has been great. It's late summer, which means the summer pattern is well established. The bass are in predictable locations, and the fishing's been really good, including for some very big bass. Quick story, I was just out a week ago, last weekend, fishing on a local lake not far from Detroit Lakes. And a buddy of mine started out the day out on the break lines, and found our first really good school right where they're supposed to be this time of year, right in the best cabbage, coontail, that type of cover. And I bet we caught 7-8 out of that school, including a couple over 4 pounds. And then I said, hey, let's move up to shore. There looks like a nice row of docks over there. So we move in. We caught 2 over 4 pounds out of that row of docks. And then we went back out to the offshore structure again, and we ran into a school. I don't even know. We must have caught 20 out of that school. We left the lake with like probably 40 plus fish caught, and our best 5 over 20 pounds for a 4-pound average.
All
It was a great day of
largemouth.
fishing. All largemouth bass, and that's really typical for this time of year. Largemouth bass will school up in that offshore structure, and it can be a lot of fun.
So it sounds like any type of structure, whether it's a dock post or weeds, good weeds, will hold bass this time of year.
Yeah, for sure. There's a shallow pattern and a deep pattern. Of course, the shallow pattern tends to be more your singles, doubles, that type of thing. Sometimes it can school up shallow though too. There's no always and forever in fishing. But those deep schools, it can be really fun, and including with some big fish. And it's got to have the right equipment and get after them. And you're going to have a good day.
Speaking of the right equipment, Chad, what are some of the baits you're throwing at some of those deeper fish? Seems to me like the shallow fish, it's kind of easy, right? Because they're in that skinny water. You just got to get something in front of them that's going to be, piquing their interest. But it's a little more challenging when you're fishing deeper water and heavy weeds.
Yeah, that's right. So out in the cabbage, you want to be weedless, right? And you also have to have the horsepower to, bring them out of that cover. Some of that cabbage, you look on your graphs, it's 10 feet high. And so what we're typically using are bait casting rods rigged with like 18 to 20 pound fluorocarbon or 40 pound braid, sometimes with a leader, 20 pound leader. And then you want to have something weedless, like a Texas rig. We throw a lot of Texas rigs with 1/4 ounce to 1/2 ounce bullet weights on them. Favorite plastic, like maybe these Crush City Craws. Any cross style bait is great to make these Bronco bugs. Those are a good bait. Tubes, you can rig those Texas rig style. Or the skirted bass jig, they have the weed guards on them. And those are great baits for that thick cover. You can cast them on bait casting equipment and get the fish in the boat.
Okay, a little tangent here, Chad, but you got a Texas rig, you got a Carolina rig, you got all these rigs. It's about time we have a Minnesota rig, or even a North Dakota or South Dakota rig. I think someone
there is a Minnesota rig, one that I actually throw once in a while if I want to get the biggest bass out of the school, and it's called the Minnesota mullet. And it's basically a giant hair jig. I throw them on a 1/2 ounce head. It's a big poof of hair, feathers, and throw those out there. And for whatever reason, the Minnesota mullet comes up with some big fish.
All right, Chad, here's a question for you. Did you know that those fish were in those weeds before you started fishing, or you just got to cover a lot of ground? Because for
Yeah,
me, I really struggle marking fish in heavy weeds.
yeah. So when you're using your electronics, I'm just going down the brake lines. I'm up on the bow. I'm using my electronics on the bow. Of course, now we have forward-facing sonar, and I'm not using forward-facing sonar like the walleye fishermen typically do to locate fish or find fish and cast to them. The bass fishermen a lot of times are using the forward-facing sonar just to find the best cover, and that means the thickest, tallest cabbage or coontail or any of that submergent vegetation. And it seems like you'll go along, and there's areas where it's real thin and real short, and then you get to a spot where, like, again, it's really tall and thick and well established, and you cast in there, and there they are. So that's a great way to go about using your electronics, is to cast for cover and not so much for fish, but they'll be in there.
That's a great, great tip. All right, so let's talk smallmouth for a minute. Smallmouth are a cooler weather species. You know, they do better up north than they do down south. So where are they at right now? Are they hiding out because of the warm surface temps?
Yeah. Well, smallmouth are a different species than largemouth. Like I say, they share the same tackle box, but they have different behaviors. There's a deep offshore pattern for those as well. Lakes that hold rock and hard bottom out in that, let's say 12 to 20 foot range. Those areas can attract smallmouth in the summer. But also, there's a very prominent pattern on many lakes where smallmouth are using shallow flats. And they're cruising up there in singles, sometimes small wolf packs, 2, 3, 4, cruising those shallows. And honestly, the best time to fish smallmouth shallow up on the flats is when the water is clear, the weather is hot, calm, sunny, and you're looking for spots where really there's not much vegetation, kind of a broken up bottom. Think the opposite of a walleye. Everything I just said, it would be the opposite of what goes through a walleye fisherman's brain when they talk about good fishing up shallow. And those are the conditions. And so when we're fishing for smallies up there, we're covering water. A lot of times you're looking for them visually on those calm days, clear water. You can see them out in front of the boat. And there's moving baits like hair jigs and little swim baits we throw at them. And then if we want to use drop shots or wacky Cincos, that type of thing, when we want to pick them off, those are good options as well.
Those are all great tips. Chad, we really appreciate you coming on Gone Outdoors. If anybody would like to talk to you about bass fishing or about high school fishing, where can they reach out to you?
Yeah, a great place to reach out would be on my Facebook page. Just look for Chad Engels and message me, and I'd be happy to talk fishing.
All right, man. We appreciate you coming on Gone Outdoors. We'll do it again one day.
Thanks, boys.
Special thanks to our show sponsors, Ray Sport Marine, Adventure RV, Devils Lake Tourism, Valley Truck Gear, Strand Ace Hardware, the Outdoor Adventure Foundation, the Outdoorsman, and Onyx Fish Midwest. Thank you for tuning to today's Gone Outdoors. Follow along when you're on the water or in the field. Gone Outdoor Podcast at KFGO.com, KWSN.com, KELO.com, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. Visit us at brewerandkyle.com and follow us on social media. Until next week, from Scotty and Kyle, we'll be Gone Outdoors.